By the year 2030, 45% of women between the ages of 24 and 44 are going to be single and childless. At least that's what study says. Now the question is that by choice or is that by confusion? Hi, my name is Shanse, and on today's episode, we're going to uncover the age-old question. Should you even get married? Should you even have kids? Is marriage and motherhood for you? And how do you know when you're ready to be married and when you're ready to have kids? Especially when society is sitting here telling you that you should do it immediately because by this year, you might never do it or it might never happen to you. So let's talk about it today. Hi, my name is Shanse, and welcome to Selfish Parenting, the podcast that gives you permission to be, well, a little selfish while raising incredible children. This is where we are going to flip everything you've been told about parenting upside down. Have a seat, relax, and enjoy the show, y'all. People often ask me, how did you know when you were ready to marry your husband? And how did you know when you guys were ready to have kids? The truth is, I actually got married very young. I got married at 24 and I got married at 23, I think. Girl, towards the end of 23, and had my first child at 24. That is relevantly young. And honestly, I don't believe in getting married young or having children young. I truly believe in getting married and having children when you're ready and when you've met the right partner. But the question still stands. How did I know, or did I just jump into it? Truth is, I like to say that I calculate readiness with where my life is at. For me personally, growing up, I always had goals, career goals. I had high aspirations, and I told myself that I'm going to get married at 30 and I'm going to start having children at 35. Now, young Shanse really didn't think much about the reasons. She just thought of a number. I think, 30 sounds like a great idea. I'll get married at 30. 35 sounds like a great time to have kids. I'll do that. But as I got older and as I got settled into my adulthood and to my career, I really started to think about that. What is going to be the defining factor for me? What is going to tell me I am ready for marriage? And what is going to tell me I am ready for motherhood? Number one, to me personally, I wanted to feel accomplished. I have never, ever, ever seen anything more sad and depressing than women who say, I lost my dreams when I had kids. Or women who look at their kids and say, I could have been something, but then I had you. I knew for a fact that is one thing I never want my children to experience. I never want my children to think my mom could have done this, but she became a mom, so she didn't do it. I also knew that a regretful life is not a great life. I did not want to regret anything. I did not want to regret not taking an opportunity. I did not want to regret not finishing a degree or not taking that job or not traveling to that place because I became a mom. So my first requirement to knowing whether or not I was ready to be a mom and to be married was, would I regret everything? So let's focus first on marriage. How did I know that I was ready to be married and to be a wife? I've always said, in order for me to get married, I will have to find someone exceptional. Not average, not good, not great, but exceptional. As a woman who was keen on never getting married because I did not see the benefits of being a wife. I did not see how being married is going to better my life. I did not see men who even gave me the inkling that they could benefit my life in a way that it would be worth it for me. We all know that marriage, and it's not my opinion, it's just a fact, it's stats. Marriage benefits men more than women. On paper, that is, right? Men who are married get better jobs. Men who are married live longer. Men who are married so and so and so. But that idea, the concept of a woman sharing a life with a man immediately kind of, makes her life a little worse. Now, for me, I understood that I did not want to get married, just to have a marriage. I wanted exceptional. That was the number one thing. I knew that if I say yes to someone, they're going to be an exceptional partner. That was my number one requirement because truthfully, I was fine without it. I'm good. See, I ain't got to do this. You know what I'm saying? It's either I get married to someone exceptional or I don't. So my first requirement was met when I met my husband. I knew he was an exceptional man and we met really young. I was 20. So the first 3 years of us being together were really just spent me getting to know him, seeing how he fit in my life. I already knew I loved him. I already knew I was in love with him, but I had to scale back and now see if his life is going to fit into mine and see how being with him will affect my life. Will I still be able to accomplish my dreams in my career? Does he help me? Does he push me? Does he actually make those possible instead of making me feel hindered by being married to him? My biggest thing and one of my biggest fears of marriage was being married to someone who wanted to make me smaller. Being married to someone who didn't see my dreams as worthy and felt like as his wife, I should sit at home, kick my feet up, get pregnant every week, and raise a bunch of his babies. Not saying that's not an amazing thing, just saying to me, that was a fear. It was a fear of mine to lose all my hopes and my dreams and all my big ideas to becoming just someone's wife. And when I was choosing whether or not I'm ready to be married, making sure I had a partner who didn't give me that idea, couldn't give me that inkling that that's how he is. It took watching how he is about the things I found important to me. I did pageants when I met my husband, and we actually met at a pageant. One of the things that I remember often hearing from men whenever they heard I did pageants was, oh, how cute, you get to wear a crown and, I guess be pretty. But the reality is I competed in educational pageants. I had a platform. I was raising money for foundations. I was meeting with world leaders. I was speaking with world leaders. I had a cause that I was really passionate about. And I remember when my husband and I were dating, almost every single weekend I was at an event. Almost every single weekend, almost all my free time was dedicated to my pageant and a work I was doing. I remember how he understood that was so important to me. Never, ever, ever did I hear him say, well, you're neglecting our relationship to do this. When we were dating, I got an opportunity to work away from the state we lived in. When we first met, I lived in Utah, so our first year of a relationship was long distance. I remember telling him, if I get an opportunity for a job that takes me away from you, I will take it. And him saying, as you should. Why wouldn't you take it? And those might sound like something very small, but I truly remember my dreams, my career, my wishes being something that he held to a high standard, just like I did. Things that I found important, he found important as well. That was me just finding someone that I felt was exceptional in a way that they're going to support my dreams, my career, and my wishes, and they're going to value them outside of me just being his wife. I did not want to lose myself in a man. I wanted to have my own life, my own things. And I found a man who not only supported that, but helped me do those things and still does today. We've been together for 11 years, and I still feel that same level of support. And that to me was one thing that made me realize I'm ready to get married to him. Another thing that I wanted to accomplish before getting married was knowing who I am and really having a strong sense of self outside of whoever I'm dating. Having friends of my own, having traveled by myself, having lived by myself, having experienced life without a partner and with a partner. Also dating, having dated a lot of different people so I know what I like and what I don't like. Those were all things that I wanted to experience prior to being married. And readiness to be married had a lot more to do with the partner I was with than just like waking up and going, yep, I'm ready to be married. So to me, it's not just as simple as saying I'm ready for marriage. It's more than that. It's who are you with? Who are you ready for marriage with? And then the biggest part to me was seeing how our lives actually intertwine together. What does marriage look like for me and you? How does this union either change the way I'm living my life already? And how does this union affect how I'm going to live the rest of my life? Where he's at right now, and if nothing ever changes, he doesn't get a new job, or he doesn't change how he dresses, he doesn't change the way he thinks, he doesn't change anything about him, will I still want to be with him? Will he still be my dream man? And if I could not answer that question honestly, then I'm not ready to be married. And by I say, if you can't answer that question honestly, I mean, sometimes we can't answer those questions because we truly don't know what we want. And if you don't know what you want in a man, in a marriage, in life, you will settle for anything that might remotely give you some sort of happiness or some sort of resemblance of good. If you truly cannot define the qualities, the attributes that you want in a man, in a husband, then you will settle for any man that maybe gives you something that might appear to be good. So to me, being able to answer exactly what I want and knowing it and being able to see it, that was very important to me. And I would have felt like I'm not ready for marriage if I couldn't name exactly what I wanted in a marriage. I knew from a very, very young age that partnership was extremely important to me. I knew that I'm not looking for someone to rule over me. Okay, I'm not a small country. I'm a continent. Okay, I'm looking for a partner here. I knew for a fact that you could not, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, you cannot come to me and treat me like someone without a brain. Not saying that, if that's what you want, girl, do you? But me personally, I knew for a fact I'm too strong minded. Honestly, I'm too much. And I needed someone that has two big hands to handle all of it, welcome it, and admire it. And I've also always said, I don't believe in shrinking myself to make you comfortable. I'm not going to change the way I think if I am not sitting here necessarily like have these horrible, thoughts, for say. But if I've always felt like I deserve this, I'm not going to let you change that because you can't give it to me. If I felt that I deserve a life that looks like this and I love you and you're unable to give me that life, then you're just not my man. You're not the one for me. I'm not going to shrink the life I wanted for myself to fit into the one you can give me. That's never been something I'm willing to do. I truly believe you're ready for marriage when you can define all the things you want in a marriage and also understand that I might never find someone who can give him to me, and I'm okay with that. And that might sound contradicting because if I want marriage, shouldn't I, do anything and everything to get it? No. I think you should want to be married as much as you want to be with yourself. Because if I look at my life and I'm enjoying the life I'm living, I like my life. I like my friends. I like the travels. I like my job. I like my extracurricular activities. I love my hobbies. I love everything about my life. You mean to tell me I should settle for someone who can't come and enhance that life because I want marriage? No. I love myself enough to either continue to love myself by myself or find someone who can enhance the love I have for myself and also better my life. Marriage to me wasn't something that I go into willy-nilly, for say. It wasn't something that I'm going to do just so I can say I'm married. I knew for a fact if I get married, it is going to be an exceptional experience. And I think setting those standards at the very beginning and early on have really made me truly happy I got to be married. It has made marriage enjoyable, it's made it fun, and I can truly say I'm good. I love it here. I love being married. But I do think it took a lot of intention ahead of getting married, of knowing what I want to get there. So how do you know you're ready to be married? Are you ready not to be married at all? Are you ready to literally never settle until you find exactly what you're looking for? And if you can answer exactly what it is you're looking for, if you know exactly the attributes, and I'm not talking about, I want someone tall, this and this and this, not to say that you should settle for attraction because you shouldn't. But until you're truly ready to name the things, the attributes, the type of life you envision, all of those things, without being dishonest with yourself, I don't think you're ready to be married. Another thing that I really think we don't talk much about is how marriage is, in my opinion, a partnership and a mirror. When you're with someone, I don't want to say 24/7, but most of your days you're sleeping with them, you're waking up with them, and someone that knows you, I mean, truly knows you for who you are, the good, the bad, the ugly. It's like having a mirror held up to you. And sometimes that means having to be very uncomfortable with some truth about you that you weren't ready to face. If you can't hold a mirror up to your face and be okay with taking feedback and be okay with being challenged, then maybe you're not ready for marriage because your partner is going to challenge you. Your partner is going to support you, but they're going to require growth. It's going to require you breaking out of some of the little things, little habits maybe, or little mindset, little situations that you kind of have stuck to over the years. It's going to require you breaking from that, being able to take the feedback. It's going to require you looking at yourself, figuring out your part that you're playing and the wrongs that you're doing and being able to work on it. It is challenging. And to me, look at how you take feedback from your loved ones. And if you're unable to take feedback from your loved ones, maybe you're not ready for marriage either. And then look at where you are financially. I do not think you're ready for marriage if you cannot financially support yourself as a woman, that is. This is specifically for women. I truly do not believe you're ready for marriage if you cannot financially support yourself. I understand in the year 2025, the conversation is, I want a provider, I want a provider. You should be your own provider to begin with. You should be able to financially support yourself. If you're looking to get married and you don't have a career, you're not able to provide yourself with a safety net, a home, a comfort, you don't have that, I don't think you're ready to get married. And for me, the biggest reason is because it creates an imbalance. If you're going into a marriage with someone who is essentially taking care of all your needs, I don't believe that you truly get to be there at your own free will. And maybe that's a little controversial, if I may. But are you really there on your free will if you couldn't leave? He's holding you hostage. You know what I'm saying? Like, are you really there by your own free will? If you were to walk away right now, you'd have nothing. You'd have no home. You'd have no money. Your bank account is empty. You have no career. You have no aspirations. So are you there your free will? Or is that your source of living? You're not ready for marriage if you cannot financially support yourself, and I will die on that hill. As a woman, you should go into a marriage being able to financially support yourself, having an education, having a career, having a way to make your own money so that you're in that marriage with a way to make your own money. I'm not even saying you have to be working. I'm just saying you need to be capable of literally supporting yourself in life. And if you cannot support yourself, you're not ready for marriage. I also truly believe you're not ready for marriage until you've been capable of handling your own bills. Live a little. Shake some ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, have you clubbed? If you have not been up at 2 a.m. in the morning in a mini skirt, twerking at a club, you're not ready for marriage. In my humble opinion. Really, I'm kidding. But seriously, go to the club a little. People need to go to the club more often. But truly, I do believe that marriage shouldn't be something we go into with hopes and dreams that it takes care of us financially. That is not what marriage was meant for. I'm not saying don't look for a partner who can take care of you financially. I'm saying you should be that partner first. Absolutely. Now, when it comes to having kids, I know y'all are going to jump me when I start saying this. How do you really know you're ready to have kids? My mom told me growing up, for her, right, coming from Africa, you're 12, you have your period, you're married off at 14, boom, you just start popping them off. That's how it worked for them, right? It wasn't like let's talk about it. How are you ready to have kids, et cetera, et cetera. For us, we are very privileged to be able to make that choice of whether or not we're ready to have kids. And we should not take that lightly. We should really sit and ask ourselves, are you ready to become a parent? For me, there's a checklist that I think about when I ask myself if I'm ready to have kids. Number one, and this one to me is, I don't want to say the most important because all of these are really, you should be asking yourself this anyways. Are you financially stable? When I was thinking about, my husband and I were thinking about having kids, I remember we were looking at our finances, at the life that we're living, and thinking, hey, where would we have to cut back in order to have kids? Because truth is, there was going to be a space for us to cut back, right? There was going to have to be a space where we have to look at each other and say, hey, we have to cut back here because once we have kids, our life cannot stay the same. I remember thinking, what am I willing to sacrifice to have kids, right? Financially, that is. What is that going to look like for me, for my job, for his job? How are we going to manage raising a kid and how much does it cost? The shock of my life when I looked up how much it cost to raise a kid, and this was in the year 2027 when we got married, I was flabbergasted. I said, it costs how much to raise a who? Because my mom literally was like, you don't need anything. You just need yourself. Your body will provide. God will provide. Wrong. You need a lot to raise a child. Now, I think for me personally, one of the questions that I was asking myself whether or not I'm ready to have kids, the first question I had to ask myself was, what type of life do I want my kids to have? Because realistically, sure, you could just bring a child into this world and, breastfeed them for a year, sleep with them in the same bed as you, homeschool them for a little bit, wait until they're 5 and drop them off to school. You could. But for me, one of the most important questions I was asking myself and my husband is, what quality of life do we want our kids to have? What quality of life do we want our kids to have? Because bringing a child into this world is a completely optional. It's optional. You ain't gotta do it. So to me, if it's optional, we should absolutely take the time to make sure it is being truly thought out. One of the question for me, I wanted to raise high quality life kids. I wanted my kids to enjoy life. I wanted to have experiences with them. I wanted to travel with our kids. I wanted them to go to the best schools. I wanted them to have extracurricular activities. I wanted to be able to drop things at the, you know, hour of the day and say, hey guys, let's go to Jamaica. Oh, not trip. I wanted my kids to be in the best clubs. I wanted them to enjoy life. I wanted my kids to experience life to the fullest. And I knew that meant that my husband and I will have to be in a very privileged financial position to do so. I knew that. I also knew that I wanted to raise kids who saw me often. I wanted to raise kids who had a relationship with me as their mom and also as a woman and as a girl and as a person who got to know me outside of the nitty gritty of motherhood. And I wanted to know my kids for who they are, their personalities. I wanted to enjoy them. I truly wanted to have kids who get to have a great relationship with their mom. And I knew that meant that I'm going to have to do a lot of work financially to get to a point like that. Because when you think about the point or the thing that finances play in motherhood, I think most people think about finances when it's raising kids or when they're preparing financially for kids, right? So when most people are preparing financially for kids, they think about how much daycare costs. They think about how much diapers cost, how much clothes cost. They think about how much food costs and how much cost of living costs. But beyond all of those things, another financial thing to think about before having kids is the underlying things, right? How much is it going to cost for you to be able to afford, let's say, a private school for your kids? How much will it cost for you to be able to afford after school activities for your kids? How much will it cost for you to be able to afford tutoring for your kids? How much will it cost for you to afford postpartum care for yourself? How much will it cost for you to afford a housekeeper for yourself? How much will it cost for you to afford a nanny if you need one? How much will it cost for you to afford happiness and joy in motherhood? Because at the end of the day, I say this all the time, the village is no longer free. If you want a village in motherhood, you're going to have to pay for it. And I truly think when you're preparing and thinking about whether or not you're ready to have kids, you should consider that. Obviously, we also consider the medical, right? All the things that come up. People always say having kids is like owning a house, but you don't get any like interest or anything. It's, you don't get no financial benefit from it at the end. It's just owning a house. Something's always wrong. Okay, kids are expensive outside of the standard daycare, diapers, etc. Kids are expensive. It costs to have kids who are happy, who are enjoying life. And I truly don't think that I would be ready for motherhood if I haven't truly considered all of those things. Another thing for me that I think you should ask yourself is, do you truly know who you are as a person, as a woman? Have you lived? Have you experienced hardships? Have you truly stepped out of your comfort zone and been uncomfortable in life? Because if you haven't, then you might truly struggle in motherhood. Knowing who you are not only gives you an opportunity to know the type of mother you're going to be, but it really helps you grasp onto something when you're going through the thick of postpartum. Who are you? And if motherhood was not there, who is left? Do you know who you are? Do you know what you love? Do you know what you like? Do you travel? Do you understand your hobbies? Do you have any? Do you know your friends? What are you outside of motherhood? It's so important to know who you are before having kids because it truly is going to be what grasps you, what's going to hold you when you're dealing with such hardships like postpartum. And postpartum is not talked about enough. And the things that come with postpartum are not talked about enough. Another thing is, if I was to have a child right now, what regrets will I have? Before I had kids, I remember I talked about this all the time. I was in the height of my career. And I thought to myself, I'm having kids, I should just quit and just become a mom. And that gnawing feeling of I'm going to regret this is what made me realize that that's not for me. And I need to make sure I continue to live my life and have these dreams and hopes because I never want to look at my kids and say, I could have done this, but well, I had kids and then I couldn't do it. So understanding what you would give up. I want you to have such a rich life before having kids that the thought of having kids brings you a list of things that you would have to give up and sacrifice. If you're like, I want to have kids, and you're like, nothing really would change, you're not ready to have kids. You're not living enough. I want you to live such a full life that you have to consider all the sacrifices before you have kids and then decide that they are worth it. I want you to be traveling that you would have to think, dang, if I have kids, I'd have to buy 20 tickets. That to me is a thought. I want you to have so many friends that you'd have to think like, dang, if I have kids right now, I may not be able to go to brunch anymore with my friends. I may not be able to go to the girls' trip. Oh, it's going to be harder for me to go on those girls' trip. I want you to have such a life where you think, dang, when I'm pregnant, I might have to stop my ice skating hobby for a little bit. Dang, when I'm pregnant, I may not be able to take the Spanish lessons anymore. When I'm pregnant, it might be, I want you to have a list of things. When I'm pregnant, I might have to step back from this career that I love. I may have to step back from this master's degree that I'm getting. I want you to have such a rich life to where the thought of having kids makes you list all the things that you might have to work a lot harder to keep or to maintain or to get, or all the things that you might have to essentially sacrifice before you have kids or after you have kids. And I'm not saying that as in like, you should just sacrifice a bunch of things to have kids. I'm saying it because you should have so much life that having kids is not your life. I don't think you're ready to have kids if you think kids are going to save you and give you a life. Kids are not going to save you. Having kids is not going to give you purpose out of nowhere. I genuinely always say this, but searching for purpose in motherhood is sort of a red flag to me. And this may be a hot take, and I know a lot of people don't agree with it, but I truly die on that hill. Searching for purpose solely from motherhood is a red flag. Motherhood is not here to fulfill your long-term dreams. Motherhood is not here. You're a vessel. And I'm not even saying this is a bad thing. We are on borrowed time as moms. Okay, I'm always going to be a mom. And it is one of the greatest accomplishments of my life. And I love being a mom. But I'm not living my life to be a mom because I am raising individual people who are going to have their own lives. My kids are with me for 18 years, 25 years, however long, and then they're off. They're off to be their own people. In fact, I have a 7-year-old who I look at every single day and think, oh my God, he's his own little person. He's quite literally his own little person. I am truly just grateful for the opportunity to guide them in this journey, but it's their journey. It's not mine. I can't leave their lives for them. So I have to have my own life to live. And if you're thinking your purpose in life should solely just be motherhood, I don't know, man. That's low-key a red flag. And you're not ready to be a mom. And you should take time back and figure out what else is your purpose. And I think purpose is, it's not one thing. You can have multiple purposes in life. I truly think one of my purposes is being a mom. I'm an incredible mom, and I'm so blessed for this opportunity, but it's not my only purpose. I have so many other purposes that I see come up every day, that I cherish every day. I have so much life outside of motherhood, but it is also a part of the joy and a part of my life. I also don't believe you're ready to have kids if you cannot set boundaries with the most basic people in your life. If you're afraid of conflict, if you have not dealt with your own childhood trauma, if you have not taken the time to truly look in the mirror and handle some of those demons that lurk behind you, you're not ready to have kids. Because believe it or not, breaking generational curses means you have to start working on that prior to having kids. Now, I'm not saying that you can't continue to work on it because truly, nothing would have prepared me for the work that I had to do after becoming a mom. But that thing that I had was a formula because before having kids and before becoming a mom, I had taken the time to discover my formula and what it looks like when something is triggering me. Me personally, I remember the first thing that triggered me a lot when I became a mom was when I'll be out with my son and people would say, and I was pregnant with my identical twin girls. And they'd be like, oh, boy. And I'm like, yeah. And then they'd be like, oh, pregnant with twin girls. And people would be like, oh, good luck. Good luck. Wait until this. And I would get so angry. And I had to sit back and just like figure out, why does that make me so upset? Why does that make me so angry? And truly understand where that came from. And understand that, yes, this is a trigger for me and let me handle that. I was also very triggered with, quite frankly, whining. This sounds crazy, but whining used to trigger me quite a lot. And whenever my kids just whine and whine and whine, it would trigger the hell out of me. And I had to sit back and figure, okay, what am I actually upset at here? And it made me realize I'm upset because growing up in an African household, I was not allowed to express my feelings. I was not allowed to express when I'm uncomfortable, when I'm sad, and I was not given the tools to handle those moments and those feelings. So I had to step back and learn the tools to be able to talk my kids through their quote unquote whining. I had to talk to them through their feelings. All of those things are skills that we need to be working on. And I don't think I would have those skills had I not taken the time to know myself and understand my own background and understand the things that I've dealt with. So understanding who you are and dealing with your traumas is a big indicator whether or not you're ready to have kids. Also, honestly, this one might be a little petty, but are you willing to at least consider that you will forever, and I mean forever, be responsible for another human life? People often say, I'm ready to be a mom, or I'm ready to have a baby, rather, right? When you hear people talk about motherhood, they never say, I'm ready to have children. I feel like people often say, I'm ready to be a mom, or I'm ready to have a baby. People love babies. I've come to find out that a lot of people love babies, but a lot of people don't really like children. They love babies, right? Babies are small. They don't gotta make any choices. You make every choices for them. They're basically just cute little, sometimes smelly, but adorable little people that just you get to hold, and it's all about you with them, right? But then you have kids. Kids are their own people, their own personality, their own opinions, their own this. And I find a lot of people don't think through that. Because at the end of the day, you're going to know your children as adults for longer than you're going to know them as children. And are you ready to have those relationships with them? Are you ready to be a guide? Are you ready to step back when you have to? Are you ready to be up when you have to? Are you ready to make sacrifices? Are you ready to put them first when you have to? Are you ready for all of those for the rest of your life? Because I don't believe that once my kids turn 18, my responsibility is over. I chose to be a parent, which means I will always be a parent to my children, no matter how old they are. Turning 18 and moving out of my house, whatever. But I am always prepared to take care of my kids for as long as I have to, because I chose to bring them into this world. And if you're thinking that once they turn 18, it's just an 18-year commitment, you're not ready to be a parent, because it's a lifetime commitment. And when you think about motherhood and when you think about parenthood, keep that in mind. Lifetime commitment, not a 2-week, 18-year commitment. And if you're not ready to make it, you're not ready to have kids. So I want to take you guys back to the statistic I shared at the beginning of the episode. The stats were by Morgan Stanley called The Rise of the She Economy, and it was updated in 2025. And it read that by 2030, approximately 45% of women in their quote-unquote prime between the ages of 25 and 44 in the US specifically will be single and unmarried. They are calling the key driving points to this, or the key drivers to this, is women gain education advantages, women are prioritizing their career, women are having financial independence, and women are delaying marriage and motherhood, and they're making an intentional choice versus a circumstances choice, right? I just want to say, a lot of people read that, and the angle that they were going was, oh my God, you should be scared. You could be single and unmarried and without kids. I am so proud whenever I read stats like that, because it means more women are making educated choices when it comes to becoming moms and wives. It means that more women are asking for exceptional when it comes to finding a partner. Women are asking for literally, meet me where I'm at, or I'm good. And to me, that's incredible. I don't think it's a crisis. I think it's a choice, and it's a smart choice at that. People also often say, well, these are your primes. Your 20s are your primes to have kids. Let's talk about the advantages of having children when you're later and you're older. There are so many advantages of having children when you're older. One of them being you're more financially stable and you're more emotionally mature. People need to have more conversation with kids who come from families who had kids later in life. Every single one that I've talked to say, I had a beautiful life. Their parents were stable. Their parents were in love and made proper decisions to get married. They weren't young, wild, free, just jumping into marriage. Not only that, their parents had stable careers, so they didn't struggle Okay. They had beautiful lives. They traveled. They were well off. And also, they're like, my mom was not trying to be my best friend. My mom was raising me. She was stable. She was emotionally secure. Also, think about yourself in your early 20s versus later in your 30s. Think about all the life you've lived. Think about all that you've experienced. So, that is a huge benefit on having children later. Another one, honestly, is well, you have had time to live your life. You're not trying to live your life vicariously through your kids because you got to live your life. And you made that choice after waiting, after thinking about it, after considering it. So you're going to cherish it even more. Another issue that I found is when it comes to having children, society just gives pressure, but not preparation. Society is not telling us what to do to prepare to be parents, especially men. Society is just saying, why aren't you having kids? You should have kids by now. You're 25, have kids, have kids. But they're not preparing us to be parents. They're also not forming a community of women who can truly share and uncover the hardships, the realities of becoming a parent. I think it is so important that we not only celebrate women for taking the time and actually considering, truly considering marriage and having kids. So let's look at the numbers by the UCSF facility research. Ages 20 to 24, your chances of getting pregnant are 30%. By ages 25 to 29, your chances of getting pregnant are still 25 to 30%. That decline happens when you're 30 to 34, from 25 to 30% to 20%. And then when ages 35 to 39, 10 to 15%. Ages 40 plus, your chances of getting pregnant are 5 to 10%. So the biggest decline happens between the ages 20 and 40. So between 25 and 35, the decline is only 10%. So your chances of having kids decline by 10% between your ages of 20 and 30. That is a 10-year difference. So just because your 20s are the most optimal for you to have kids, it doesn't mean you have to have them by 20. And it doesn't mean that you have no chance of having kids in your 30s. In fact, it's only a 10% decline between 20 and 30. Not only that, between 20 and 30, think of how your brain changes in those years. Think about your brain development in those years. Again, this is coming from someone who have kids relevantly young, and I still stand by this. I stand by you wanting to have kids when you're older is actually so much better for you and your children. And you're going to handle parenthood, motherhood, and postpartum so much better when you've had time to settle into who you are, you've had time to live your life, and you've had time to discover what kind of mom you want to be. I think we've all heard everyone say you're never truly ready to have kids. And sure, maybe that's true, but there are signs. Not only are there signs, there are so many steps you can take to make sure you are ready to have kids. My hot take of today is I think if you sit here and ask yourself, do I really want this? Don't do it. You can always have kids, but you cannot take them back once you've had them. It is way, and I mean so much better for you to regret not having kids than it is for you to regret having them. It is so much better for you to regret not having kids than for you to regret having kids. Regretting having kids is not something that I wish for any child on this planet. Children are a choice. They should come onto this world into loving and into absolutely parents who want them, who love them, and who are ready for them. So don't have them if you even think for an inkling that you're going to regret it. If you even think for an inkling it might not be right for you, just don't have them. Girl, don't do it. Don't do it. If there's a chance you could regret it, if there's a chance it might not be right for you, do not do it. They deserve better, and so do you. And also, we just want to point out, there is definitely a difference between being nervous and being scared. If you're thinking about having kids and you're like, I want this, and you've really thought about it, you've considered it, and you've looked at everything, and there is still a nervousness, that's okay. It is new. It is different. You've never done this before. Of course, you're gonna be nervous. It's gonna be a little feeling, right? But it shouldn't be this feeling of like, I don't think I can do this. You should not be that terrified. Nervous, yes. A little nervous, a little nerve here and there, absolutely understandable. But scared because you're like, I don't think I can handle this, don't do it. That we're gonna say, it's a no-go, okay? And honestly, I think it goes by without saying, but we should say it anyways. If it's what you want, do it. If it's what you want, do it. But really make sure it's what you want, because at the end of the day, they're your kids. It doesn't matter how much support you have. It doesn't matter how much village you have. They're always going to be your kids, and they're going to primarily be under you. You're going to support them. So make sure that you're the one that want this when you're making these decisions. So here is what I want you to remember. That 45% stat is not supposed to be scary. It's actually empowering. It is empowering to hear that more women are taking time and they're taking the space to really figure out if this is what they want. And also, really important key takeaway here. Marriage and having children is not a requirement. It is optional. So do it if you want to. It's an option, but it is not a requirement. You're not required to be married and you're not required to have kids. So make sure if you decide to participate in this optional activity, you do it the right way and you do it for you. And I want you to definitely take a time and ask yourself the questions we've asked you during today's episode. I want you to really sit with these questions. I want you to answer them for yourself. And if you truly feel like you're ready to become a parent, I am so excited for you because being a parent is really one of the most beautiful experiences that I've personally had that pleasure of experiencing and I get to continue to experience. And if you think you're ready for marriage, I'm so excited for you. And I truly hope that you find an exceptional partner to share this with. I want to thank you for taking the time to listening to Selfish Parenting today. I want to thank you for truly being a part of our little community in our unit. And I hope to see you in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and all the good things. Until next time, you guys, don't be scared.